Welcome back, folks. As you can tell, I'm out here in the shop. I'm going to do a few things today. One being getting those chainsaws up to snuff, get them fueled up and sharpened. Because if you saw my last video, well, one of my last videos, I was out cutting that big tree that was leaning against my white pine. While I was cutting that up and splitting it, I noticed my chains were getting a little dull on the chainsaws. So I thought, what better time than today, a nice warm day, to get out in the shop and get it sharpened. So I had the snowmobile out earlier and I figured, you know what, it's getting above zero, so I didn't want to get that thing overheating or working too hard, so I put it away. That's why I'm out here in the shop doing some odds and ends. So if we have a look here at the saws, got them both up here on the bench. Here's the 435 Husky, and here's the one I use the most, the 555. I just took the covers off, and as you can tell, there's some dust in there I'm going to clean out. But I like to take off the cover, have a good look-see. I like to clean all this dust out best I can, and I do that on both saws. And the other thing I like to do just before I get them sharpened is to clean off the covers themselves. So this one's the 435 cover. I lied. This one is the 555 cover. And as you can tell, all this gunk gets in there, and here in Canada, it tends to freeze in there. So I like to get it out as soon as I can so I don't forget. So I did that with that one, the 555, and this one I still have to do. As you can see, it's real caked in there, and just to keep the life of the saw, I like to get it cleaned out whenever I get the covers off, and tend to get the covers off when I sharpen the chain. So here's the two bars. The other thing I do is I go along the grooves here on both saws, and I clean them out, and I tend to clean them out with the edge of the scrunch here. As you can see there, and you guys can get a good zoom in, I don't know if you can see that, but the flat surface there fits perfectly inside the groove on the, you guys go down there and see that, inside the groove on the bar, and as a result you can slide down and get that cleaned out of any gunk. But that's what I like to do. This bar here, you guys can see, this is off the 435. This one does not have a greasable tip to it, so I just check to make sure it's moving freely. This bar is getting a little old, but it's still moving freely, so that one's probably good to go back on the saw. When I look at the 535 here, this one does have a greasable tip. As you can see there, you guys see that down there? That hole right there? That gets grease using this guy. Using this guy, the push and lube. So this thing works quite well, and you've likely done this before. If you have this type of bar, you just push down on that, and it greases the sprocket on the very end there. And if you look here, I just greased this thing so it's well lubricated and moving well. So I like to do that on both bars. Grease the tips if I can, clean out the grooves using my scrunch. And the other thing I like to do when I put the bar back, I flip it over. So whichever position it was in, I just flip it over one, and that way I get I get an even wear surface on the bottom as well as the top. So it doesn't get a sort of a rut or a divot put in either side of the bar. I also like to have a look and just see how much wear the bar has. And to tell you the truth, this bar is getting near the end of life as well. I'll get it changed probably in not too long. But that's where I'm at right now. So I got these things off, got the covers off, got them cleaned out the bar, greased the tip on the 555. Coming back over here, I just check to make sure everything's working smoothly, clean this out, clean that out, and then I'm left with the chains. If you look yonder, you guys can see in the corner there, that's sort of my setup for the sharpening. And I got to clean the shop, as you guys can tell. Sneak through here, bit of a maze. I sneak in here and I've got a little bucket, and I sit on that and I fire up the light, and it's kind of dark, but you guys can see I'm just about ready to go. We'll sharpen that first using the Oregon sharpener. If you guys have questions about that or want to see it in action, you'll see it today, or check out my other videos. So that's the name of the game here today. I'm going to sit down on this pail, get that sharpened, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm down here on my little perch, and I got my chain here, and this is off my Husky 555. This thing's a bit worn in some places. Some of the teeth hit some rocks over the days, so we'll grind it down regardless. So first thing I'm doing when I have a look at this is I'm going to go back to my manual And this manual you guys would have gotten if you bought this unit. Oh, apparently the light wants to join me. Stay there. So I'm going back to this manual because it's going to give me some indication as to what angles I need for what type of chain. I highlighted what I need here. I need 25 degrees, 10 degrees, and 55. So 55 up here, you can see that's referring to the head tilt. Down here, 25, if you look along this small little scale here, you can see 25, that's the orientation of the chain. And then 10 degrees is the tilt forward or backwards. And it's either no tilt, which is 0 degrees, or it's 10 degrees this way, or 10 degrees that way. And that's just dependent on whether you are sharpening the left teeth, which is that one, etc., or the right teeth, that one, etc. So I'm set up right now for the right tooth, and so that is what I'm going to do first. And I'm just going to start with that tooth, and whatever tooth I start with, I like to just put a red mark on it just so I don't sharpen it twice. Keeps all the teeth evenly sharpened. So for this, what it's telling me, according to my my book here, is that this needs to be tilted inwards, so that way. And then that will be all the way, which is 10 degrees. This will be set to 25 degrees, and that will be set to 55. So if that is the case, I'm going to snug that up. Next thing I need to do is get the tooth centered in front of this pusher here. As you can see, it's a little bit this way. So I'm going to loosen this off and just straighten it up so it's right there in the center. This right here is a lock. That's going to be used to lock the chain into position. Just before I lock it, I like to pull it back against the pusher, lock it in. Then I can try and see where, if we have a look there, where the actual stone is going to hit the tooth. And for me, it's a little bit too far forward, so I'm going to back it off just a little bit. Look at it again. And for me, that's even a touch aggressive still, so I'm going to take it back even further. And you obviously want to take your time with this, because you get this wrong, you're going to take too much off your tooth. And that, for me, looks pretty good. I'm just going to go a touch further forward, just a little. We'll try that. Okay. Snug that up. How's that look? Looks good to me. So let's throw in the old sunglasses, aka safety glasses. Let's see what it looks like. And as you can see there, I'm watching for the sparks, and I couldn't see any sparks when I came across the top cutting edge. And so that tells me it's too far backwards. I need to cut it, or push it, back forward a touch. Lock it in, let's see. Let's try that. Perfect. And I saw sparks all the way through. There wasn't any spot where there was no sparks, so it tells me it should have hit the entire cutting edge of that tooth. And what I like to do just to verify that it's what I want, I like to take it off, and I don't know if you guys can see that too well, but I look to make sure it's shiny all the way across the tooth. That indicates to me that it's got the entire cutting edge, including the gullet, sharpened, and that looks quite good to me. So now that's what I'm going to cut all the right side teeth at. All the right side teeth at, using those settings. So then it just becomes a matter of continuing the process and so on and so forth. Turn that on there. And the name of the game here is consistency. Just try to replicate exactly what you do every single time. Okay, that is a good chain, sharp, ready to rock, aside from having to take down the dogs. So these right here, these are gonna basically tell me how deep the chain's gonna cut into the wood. I gotta bring those down with a depth gauge, and I'll use a little flat file to do that. Okay, I like to do all the depth gauge adjustments right on the actual bar itself. As I was mentioning before, I like to clean out the groove in the bar like so, and just be very careful. These can develop a sharp edge on them. There, so I clean those out. Now I know the groove is completely open, so bar oil can flow through it, and I'm going to put it back the opposite way I had it. So I actually had it come off this way, so I'm going to put it back like so. And let's get the chain on there. Make sure you put the chain on the right way. It's going to rotate this direction, so make sure the point for the cutters are facing forward. You'll learn that the hard way if you ever put it on backwards. I've never heard of anyone doing it, but that doesn't mean people don't. Push the bar back inwards. And once it's close, pull it forward, pull the bar forward, and you see the chain snugs up there. Okay, and I'll probably go back and clean this out a bit better. You guys can decide what's clean to you. For me, I know, being here in Canada, that if I don't clean it out now, it's going to freeze, and then I'm going to hate life. Nothing worse than working on equipment when you want it to be out in the field using it. Okay. And maybe use compressor, whatever you have. But anyways, we're going to go with that for now, just to show you what I do to get this thing up and going. And as you can see, you'll probably want to clean all this gunk out. One of the benefits of this Husky 555, you can see it's got the retaining nuts, so they don't fall off. This one here, that comes off, goes in the snow. You're not liking things. So this one here, make sure the chain brake is off when you go to pull the faceplate off. Otherwise, you'll wonder why it's fighting you. And if you go to push it in and it doesn't quite go in, the reason being is, see that pin? That's for the bar adjustment. It's not lining up in that hole. So just have your scrunch ready, or a screwdriver, and you probably have to just move it back a little bit, or you can just move the bar itself. Okay, next thing you're going to do is you're just going to snug these up. You never tighten them down fully, like you don't hammer on them. Especially right now, you just snug it up. And now what we can do, a little looser than that. Now what we can do is tighten the screw, and you'll see the bar moving. Boom, you get it where you want it. And just a tip, and you guys might have heard this from other people, when you go to tighten these bar nuts, hold the tip up, or if I'm out in the bush, I set it on a log and I put a bit of down pressure on it, and that holds the tip upwards. And what I find is, if I tighten it with the tip having a bit of upward pressure on it, then when I actually start cutting, it doesn't settle and the chain doesn't go slack on me. Okay, so let's just pretend I tightened that up where I would. And different people are going to have different things they tell you for how loose the chain should be. I want it to snap back. Okay, I don't want to see any chain hanging down here. I don't want to see anything down here, any airspace. I want that to be up against the bar. Okay. What can I say? Check your manual if you're interested. So that's that. Now I'm going to file down the depth gauges. You can see them here right in front of each tooth. What I do is I use this guy here. I picked this probably up at a hardware store or wherever you bought the chain. You just set it on 2 teeth, and in the middle of those 2 teeth will be the depth gauge. You can take a flat file, run it over it. If you can feel, see how I'm hitting that depth gauge? That's telling me I have to file that down a bit. And I would just go along and I would see if I can hit. See how I hit that depth gauge? So I'm going to file that down. I would go along every depth gauge and check. Okay. And you just want to be careful when you're filing down the depth gauge. You don't want to put the file onto your freshly sawn tooth. Some people will do this. They will leave that on there and file it. The only reason I don't do that, I don't want to file any of the material away from the actual indicator tool here. So I tend to take it off, file it down a little bit, and put it back and then try it again. Okay, and keep this in mind. The more you take off there, the more bite that tooth is going to have in the wood. That may be good if you got a big heavy-duty saw, lots of juice, lots of horsepower. But if you got a smaller saw, you don't necessarily want to take this down any more than this gauge tells you, because you're going to dig into that wood, and it's really going to put a bit of strain on your saw. You're probably not going to cut overall very fast. So I would go through and do that. Once that's done, then the saw is ready to get back into action. Anyways, I'm heading out because I got all kinds of wood to cut. What I normally do, just a side tip, is I don't tend to sharpen my chain out in the field. I don't tend to sharpen my chain when I need it. I sharpen my chain on off days. What I do is I keep a spare chain sharp and ready to go, and I take it with me. That way, when my chain does inevitably go dull, I'm not spending some downtime out in the field hand filing. Instead, I throw on the already sharp extra chain, and then when I get some time, I bring the spare into the shop here and get it ground down. So just a side tip there, keep a spare, keep it sharp, and you won't be wasting time out in the bush. So guys, thanks for watching today. You all take care, and I will see you next time.